Why do I smile? That's a good one. Well, the first reason I like to smile, is because my great uncle, who is actually 80 something years old, told me one time that as long as you wake up on the right side of the roots, things are good. And I woke up this morning on the right side of the roots, so I'm good. But, there's a lot of things that make me smile. I mean, my wife and my son make me smile. The town of Milton makes me smile on a daily basis. Last night was our Christmas parade, and we were in the Christmas parade on the town council float. And there were so many familiar faces. There was also so many faces I've never seen before. And everyone was just having an absolute great time, celebrating community, celebrating the holidays.
Welcome back, Sussex. I am here with Councilman Edler. How you doing today?
Great. Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. I just, first and foremost, before we start, just want to say thank you for your service. First question that I have for you. Who are you?
Well, my name is Scotty Edler. I am a councilman for the town of Milton, and I'm chair of the town's Parks and Recreation Committee. And I'm also a college professor. I teach history and government at multiple colleges throughout the country, 3 in Texas and 1 in New Hampshire.
So I know that you are a Delawarean,
yes.
But what fascinates me the most is I want you to talk about a little bit about Cape. You went to Cape, graduated from Cape, Del State, then Midwestern University.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Midwestern State University, yes. So yes, I'm a 1998 grad of Cape Henlopen High School. I actually went to Milton Middle School, which is the current Milton Elementary School now. Graduated in 98, and then went to Delaware State University. I was there for 4 years, graduated in 2003. And then I went on to get my master's in arts and history at Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas. I also did get almost all the coursework done, except for the thesis in political science at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So I'm still working on that one. That one is a work in progress. I'm hoping to have that done, wrapped up here in the next 2 years.
Talk to us about your book.
Well, the book that I've been reading is Shakespeare's Kings. This is a book that I read every so often because I teach a course in Tudor Stuart England. And this is all the monarchs that Shakespeare wrote about. Shakespeare, a lot of people don't realize he was one of the first real, I guess you'd say, political, I don't know exactly how you would describe him, but political, I guess you'd say, it's hard for me to describe. He was very political in his plays. People don't think about that when they look at the way he wrote. He was writing for an audience of one. He was writing his initial plays for Queen Elizabeth I and then for King James VI and first of Scotland and England. And if you look at his kings that he talks about, the early ones are the York and Lancastrian kings. He talks very negatively about them. But then when he gets to the Tudors, it's always about how glorious they are. And obviously, Elizabeth I was the last of the Tudor monarchs. So it was propaganda, was the word I was really looking for, a political propagandist. And it's always great to read it because it goes into the plays and it talks about the things that he talks about that are, you'd read him about Richard III and talks about him being a hunchback. Well, then you go and you actually read about it, and he was actually a pretty decent king for the 2.5 years he was actually king. But if you read Shakespeare, you would think he was the worst monarch they'd ever had. So it's just interesting to look at the myth of the Shakespeare play versus actually what the historical facts are.
And what is it about Shakespeare that gets you excited about going deeper?
Well, Shakespeare is like any other historical fiction or historical semi-nonfiction. There is a lot of truth to it, but it's really interesting to dig deep and find what is actually real versus fake, or basically made for entertainment. And all of our historical movies and books today are that way. There's a new Napoleon movie out that's making the rounds. I think Joaquin Phoenix is in it. I'd say 90% of that is probably historically factually accurate. But the 10% that's not is what people will focus on. And
Okay.
they'll use that to discredit the movie, which it should be as a historical, as a historical document or as a historical remembrance of it. But there is absolutely some value to the Napoleon movie, just like there would be to Shakespeare's plays. So a lot of times people don't realize just how important somebody like Shakespeare is.
Why? You could have been anywhere in the world, after you finished school. Why Sussex?
Well, actually, that's an interesting story because I left Sussex in 2003 to go to graduate school. I had no intention of coming back here. I got to be honest with you. My first thought was, like everybody else that grew up in this area and leaves, I'm gone. I'm not coming back. And I spent 4 years in Wichita Falls, Texas, which was a very interesting experience. And then afterwards, I actually moved to Arlington, Texas. I was maybe 2 or 3 miles away from the Cowboys Stadium. Six Flags, the original Six Flags, is there. I love that area. It was between Dallas and Fort Worth, so it was one big city. I'd never lived in a city before. It was really amazing. But then my wife decided she wanted to go to medical school. And obviously, I was all for that. So we moved to Galveston, where we lived in Galveston for 4 years. And when I was there, I realized how much I missed home. I realized how much I missed the beach, how much I missed beach and coastal culture, seafood. I mean, you can't get very good seafood in Wichita Falls, and you sure don't get very good seafood in Dallas, at least not cheaply. And so when she did her residency, you don't get a choice in that, but we did go to Mobile, Alabama. And that was on the coast. And again, I told her, I said, I don't think I really want to live too far away from the coast ever again. So when it was time for her to graduate and actually look for a job, we looked at jobs everywhere from like the New Jersey coast all the way down Florida and all up the Gulf Coast. And she decided to take the job at Bay Health because that was really... It was one of the best interviews she had. I was actually kind of shocked by that, but she's like, have you ever thought about moving home? And I said, no, not really, no. And my mother's still here, and I have a brother that lives in Dover. So, I said, well, it's interesting, but I don't know that I really want to do it. They say you can't go home again. And we came for a couple of interviews, and obviously we'd vacationed here over the years. And she was sold. She she basically told me, this is where I want to go. And so we did it. I originally, when I lived here before, I lived actually outside of Milton. I lived more closer to Nassau, Lewis area. But when we moved back, we decided that Milton's where we wanted to be, mainly because we wanted to be close to Bay Health Hospital. We had to be 30 minutes away from Bay Health, and the old hospital, was exactly 30 minutes from our home. Now, of course, it's about 12 minutes with the new Bay Health Sussex. So we love Milton. We love to be able to walk. We love the walkability. If anybody's ever thinking about living in Milton, the best place to live in Milton is downtown. I know there's all the neighborhoods growing, and I'm not trying to talk anybody out of moving to Milton, but downtown's where you want to be. We live right on Union Street, right on the corner of Union and Atlantic. Everyone knows where we live anyway, so not telling anybody that anybody doesn't know. But we can walk within 5 minutes to the theater, Irish Eyes, the Dough Bar, 2 coffee shops, 𝑰 𝑨𝑴 Cafe and Suburban Farmhouse. And that's what we loved about Milton. As a matter of fact, the first year we lived here, I didn't even have a car. We sold one of our cars when we left Mobile, and then my wife traded in another car, and for the first year I didn't even have a car. I walked everywhere I needed to go. Milton it's just one of those places where once you park, you're home.
That's right.
It doesn't matter where you go. And it doesn't matter if you live in Shipbuilders or Heritage Creek. If you're able to walk, it's the best way to get around that town. That's one thing about Milton. I will say that Rehoboth has it as well, and Lewis has it as well, the walkability. But a place like Milford doesn't have that. Not really. And a lot of these other towns don't have that. They're all kind of compact, and that's kind of nice because you can just wander. And that's what I like to do. I just get out, sometimes with the baby carriage.
I see you all the time.
Everyone does. As a matter of fact, one person called me the street walking councilman.
That's right.
They always used to joke that I was out looking for votes. I said, well, I've already been elected. They said, well, you're still doing it. I do. I walk all the time. I mean, people run into me and say, I saw you 3 hours ago over by Dogfish Head. Now you're over by, I don't know, shipbuilders or over by Ace Hardware. And I'm like, that's just me. I just walk around town all day long visiting with people.
Now, why run for office?
Well, I'll be honest, it was something that I really wasn't expecting to do. The last couple of years, I've not been happy with some of the decisions that the Milton Town Council has made. I really don't like the overdevelopment without any thought. I'm not anti-development. I know that the times change. We need to evolve. But it just seemed like to me, when it came to the council, planning and zoning, and the Board of Adjustments, it seems like there was never really a plan. We have a comprehensive plan, but it seems like sometimes things kind of get stretched or get pushed through that maybe didn't. You hear a lot of people complaining about, we don't have enough parking. The traffic is on Union and Federal has gotten terrible in the last 5 years. But it's a good sign, too. It means Milton is growing and it's thriving. I remember Milton's downtown area when I was a kid. There was nothing down there. The theater was boarded up. There was nothing there. Now we have people that want to be in Milton. I think that's great. But I think there should be more strategy to it. So a couple of years ago, I got behind a candidate who we actually did get elected. And I just was disappointed. And then the next year, I thought about running, and I didn't. But I backed another candidate, and they won. And they did an okay job, but they still really disappointed me on some votes they taken. And I now know how hard it is, and I know that you always have ones that you want back. And my wife just finally told me after one day coming back from a meeting and complaining, saying, I cannot believe how they voted. She said, you know what? You're always looking for these candidates. You always want somebody to do it. And the reality of it is they always disappoint you. So you ought to just do it yourself. She said, quit complaining about them and get out and actually do it yourself. And between my wife encouraging me, former Mayor Canacos, Ted Canacos, two other former mayors, Jack Hudson and Jack Bushy, people started convincing me that maybe I should do it. Instead of complaining about other people who break my heart, so to speak, get out and do it yourself. And then if you make a mistake, then there's no one to blame but yourself. And so I decided to do it. And it's been a great experience. I was one of two people to sign up to run. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, no one else decided to run. So basically, the two people that chose to sign up were deemed elected. So I was elected in March of 2023, and my first term, if I decide to run for a second, my first term will be up in 2026, April of 2026. But it's been a great experience, and the thing I like about it, a lot of people talk about the Monday council meetings, the first Monday of the month. That's not the part that I really enjoy the most, although I do like to have a say in what goes on in town. The thing that I enjoy about being one of the elected leaders in town is getting out in town and talking to people and trying to work on their problems. I'll give you an example. This isn't even one of the things that I deal with because I'm not chair of streets and sidewalks, but Hemlock, Hemlock, and some of those other streets, Pine, Spruce, they're very dark at night. And someone just messaged me again about it a couple nights ago. Is there anything we can do about getting some more street lights or upgraded street lights? And ironically, this Monday, we actually had Delmarva Power come before us to tell us that they're going to put new lights on Mulberry. And while they were there, I was able to basically get him to at least say that he will look into putting street lights or upgrading the infrastructure on the tree streets, Mulberry, Hemlock, and all those, and also Behringer. Behringer Avenue in Milton is very dark. Yes. And so my hope is that I can continue to do things like that. And that's not something you deal with Mondays. That's things you deal with day to day. People who email you or stop you in the street and they say, I have a problem. That part is one of the things that I really enjoy because people don't people don't really pay that much attention to what happens in the Monday meetings. Not everybody. There are some people who go to every meeting. They have notes and binders, but most people, they're too busy living their lives. I don't think I've ever seen you at a town council
That's
meeting.
right.
You're busy living your life.
Yes.
But if you call me on the phone and say, hey, I have this problem in my neighborhood, is there anything you can do? My first phone call is to Mrs. Rogers, our town manager, and I say, this is what this particular person has an issue with. How can we address this? And it doesn't matter if it's streets and sidewalks, which I'm not on, or water department. I'll still pick up the phone and call Mrs. Rogers and say, can you do this, or can you send this to whoever the chair of that committee is and make sure this gets done? That's the part of it I really enjoy, is the actually serving the public.
That is awesome. Question for you. Arts. I get really excited how I'm walking through town and I'm starting to see arts.
Yes.
Talk to me about your beliefs about arts, the importance of arts in communities.
Sure. First of all, the center of our town is not Town Hall, it's the Milton Theater. I mean, I think everybody knows it's been the Milton, that the Milton Theater is a jewel for that town. It's really why people come to Milton. You know, people aren't coming to Milton to eat at one of our restaurants from, like, say, Berlin.
That's right.
Okay, unless you're a foodie. They are coming there to see something specific that the Milton Theater is showing. And they have done an incredible job with marketing Milton as an arts community. And former Councilwoman Annette Babich and her Economic Development Committee, they've also been doing a lot of that. Now, she's no longer with us. She resigned in, I believe it was July. And currently the chair of that committee is interim chair, and he is Barry Goodinson. And he has done, him and his committee have done a great job. You know, they have the art exhibit that was up that's now hanging permanently around town. That is a great addition to our town. You walk down the Governor's Walk alley between Irish Eyes and the Mercantile. It really just brightens up your day when you walk down there. There's some on the Rails to Trails. I think it's very important because those things are more geared towards people who live there. Most people who come to visit, they go to the rail. They don't go to the Rails to Trails, or they don't really pay much attention to Governor's Walk. They're going to go get something to eat. The other thing that we're doing, it's supposed to be this Sunday unless the weather doesn't cooperate. The Economic Development Committee is doing, and obviously this will be way late for this, but we're doing a tree decorating thing, and that's hopefully going to be something that's going to be permanent, like year round, like next year annually. You'll have we've got 3 or 4 trees. They're in Mill Park, and the local elementary schools are going to come and they're going to decorate them. So we're going to try it this year, see how that works, and then next year we'll hopefully do it again. And I think that's important because it gets the kids involved, and it is still an art. I mean, they're going to make the decorations, they're going to put them on the tree, and they're going to decorate Mill Park throughout the Christmas season. And then when the Christmas season's over, we will plant the trees somewhere and do it again next year. Milton has become a real art destination. I mean, it's hard to believe, Little Milton. It's almost becoming like
it's art. A phenomenal thing.
Yeah, it's amazing because you hear people and they walk down the street and they say, oh, we were at this little restaurant and in the alley there's all these like murals or whatever hanging on the wall, and they're so interesting. And so Milton's done a real good job with that. Between the theater, the Economic Development Committee, the Milton Art Guild is located there, and they do a lot of good things. So we've got a really vibrant art network in the town of Milton.
What is a quote that you currently live by?
Well, as a historian, as my primary field, the quote that I've just always basically lived by, and it's always misquoted or paraphrased, and I'm gonna paraphrase it myself, is those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. My students, I push that to them all the time, is you don't have to understand everything in this book or every other book, but you really need to have a basic guideline as to what has happened in the past, because everything that happens in the past could happen again if you're not paying attention. So it's important that you actually pay attention and make sure that you or your generation makes better decisions than the prior generation. And so that's probably the one that I live my life by on a daily basis.
What's next for you?
What's next? I don't know. I'm enjoying being on the town council. I probably will stick around and do that as long as the people of Milton will have me. I'm not up for re-election until 2026, so I still have, 2.5 years? So I've got some time. I hope that I can get a lot of things done over that 2.5 years. I've got a lot of ideas, one of which we talked about were the lights downtown. One dream I have is to one day maybe work on getting some more of the power lines buried. That's going to be a very, very expensive dream. But, there are some coastal communities that are talking about doing those things, because of hurricanes and the storms that we're having that are becoming more frequent. But really right now I'm just enjoying the process of being on the town council, and we'll see where I go from there.
Want to give your son a shout out. I know everybody in town knows him.
Yeah, my son, Scotty Jr., people call him all kinds of names. He's SJ to some, he's little Scotty. To me, I just call him my little man. But he is at daycare today. He just turned 1 November 10th, and he is becoming a nightmare in a good way. I mean, he went from sitting doing nothing to almost running around the house overnight. I mean, yesterday he couldn't run, and by the end of the evening he was running across the floor. I'm not saying he didn't take a few spills, but he is running. So everyone in town knows him. Everyone in the town of Milton knows little Scotty, and they love him.
Is there a question you wish I would have asked?
Well, before I realized you were going to ask it, I was gonna say my academic journey, but you got to that. Really, I would say no, because I think you did a very good job, and you asked questions that I thought of that aren't on the paper. So, I thought you did a great job on that. No, I think that's it. I think we've covered everything.
Why do you smile?
Why do I smile? That's a good one. The first reason I smile, I like to smile, is because my great uncle, who is actually 80-something years old, told me one time that as long as you wake up on the right side of the roots, things are good. Mm-hmm. And I woke up this morning on the right side of the roots, so I'm good. But, there's a lot of things that make me smile. I mean, my wife and my son make me smile. The town of Milton makes me smile on a daily basis. Last night was our Christmas parade, and we were in the Christmas parade on the town council float. And there were so many familiar faces. There was also so many faces I've never seen before. And everyone was just having an absolute great time, celebrating community, celebrating the holidays. Yes, are there negatives to everything? Sure, there was trash on the streets, this morning. But the fact that everybody got together and had a great time last night, and we don't have a lot of the problems that some of these other towns and cities have. Living in a town like Milton makes me smile. I really enjoy living in a place like that, and I enjoy serving them on the town council.
I couldn't agree more, man. Makes me smile every day, Awesome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having
once
me.
again, your service, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Until next time. Thanks for watching Your Sweet Sussex. And for more episodes, go to IamSussex.com.